We were scared to death, and I thought that's it. That's our life. It's done.
Umar Zameer is speaking out just days after a jury acquitted him in the death of Toronto Police Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup.
Tonight, Zamir and his wife sit down with CTV News to talk about the incident, the trial, and the relief that came with the not guilty verdict. Good evening. A nightmare that won't go away is how Umar Zameer describes the night that Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup was killed in the underground parking garage at City Hall.
After a lengthy trial that ended with a verdict of not guilty, Zamir is now trying to get his life back on track and says he hopes in time Northrup's family will be able to forgive him. CTV's John Woodward sat down with Zamir and his wife today and joins us live. John.
Nathan, in our interview today, we talked about the effect this prosecution has had on Zamir and his family for 3 hellish years, pairing both relief this legal ordeal is over with sadness about the death of Detective Constable Northrup.
That night was a nightmare for us.
A nightmare finally over. The relief written on the faces of Umar Zameer and his wife, Ida Sheikh. The threat of life in prison no longer hanging over his head.
We are so blessed. We are so blessed. But we hoped for this day, but we were scared that it would never come because it took so long.
The last 3 years have taken a toll. Police charged him with first-degree murder. He was branded a cop killer, with top political figures expressing outrage he had been released on bail. After 3 months in custody, he missed the birth of his second child.
It happened. It's a very sad, tragic accident. I just wish it didn't happen.
According to evidence at trial, Zamir, his pregnant wife and young son had visited downtown Toronto on Canada Day 2021. Surveillance video shows them passing by a man who had been stabbed. Police descended on the parkade looking for the suspect just as Zamir had loaded his son's stroller in the car. Zamir testified plainclothes officers didn't identify themselves as police, and in a panic he drove away, not realizing he had struck and killed Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup. Video evidence would contradict the testimony of several officers. The trial judge, Anne Malloy, apologized to Zamir for all he had been through. Toronto's police chief announcing 2 reviews, one by the OPP of officer testimony and another of plainclothes procedures.
Perhaps there needs to be a reckoning.
Zamir's lawyer, Nader Hassan, hoping the case can serve as a warning.
It got this far, and it was a few inches away, perhaps, from a wrongful conviction.
The fight financially devastating.
For all our families, they sold their property.
Average citizens appear to be responding in numbers on a GoFundMe page, which is now at some $200,000, to go to a legal debt and to set his life back on track.
I don't know when it will go away, but that night and then the days forward and then the years are, I don't know how long it will haunt us.
Zamir says he will never stop being racked with guilt over the death of Officer Northrup.
Zamir says it's premature to think of a lawsuit against the police or the Crown, saying he prefers to spend the first days as a free man with his kids. But questions about how this prosecution got so far remain. Reporting live, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Meanwhile, Toronto's police chief says he recognizes the concerns of the community after the Zamir trial and says the Toronto Police Service will do everything it can to rebuild the public's trust.
I do accept the jury's findings, always have. We are obviously, looking for an opportunity for closure, and but to be clear, the jury's findings are what I accept, and I thought I was clear Sunday, but I want to make sure I'm clear on that now.
Myron Demkew was asked to clarify comments he made after the verdict was delivered on Sunday, in which he said he was hoping for a different outcome. Late yesterday, Demkew announced the OPP would be conducting an independent review into Toronto Police's plainclothes procedures. Today, he said it would be inappropriate for him to make any comment on comments made by his predecessor in the hours after the death of Detective Constable Northrup had suggested the death had been intentional and deliberate.
It's a list of Canada's most wanted fugitives from justice that police want your help in tracking down.
At the top of that list, a man wanted in the fatal shooting in the city's East End last summer. CTV's Mike Walker is live tonight with those details. Mike.
Michelle, Nathan, Michael Beebe, who is wanted for second-degree murder, tops the list. He is one of 6 suspects wanted by Toronto police on this list. They are the 25 most wanted suspects in Canada. Topping the list is 35-year-old Michael Beebe.
Today, your world gets smaller. We won't give up. We will find you.
Beebe is wanted by Toronto police in connection with the murder of 29-year-old Shamar Powell Flowers, who was shot and killed near Danforth and Carlaw last July. There is a $100,000 reward for information leading to Beebe's arrest.
I do believe Mr. Beebe should be considered armed and dangerous. I do believe he is in the GTA area.
Powell Flowers was a construction engineer described as brave, loyal, ambitious, and hardworking. A statement from the family reads in part, "For 9 months we have been crippled not only by grief, but by the realization that there are people out there who could help us, but who instead have chosen to remain silent." Rounding out the top 5 is Christian Cuxum, who's accused of killing Colombian immigrant Edwin Alvarado while he refereed a soccer game in October 2022 at a sports complex near Dufferin and Finch. Last year, Cuxum was the most wanted man in the country.
There's been a lot of tips coming in for Christian Cuxum, but the right tip hasn't come in yet.
About half of the fugitives on the BOLO or Be on the Lookout program list were among the most wanted from last year. The suspects come from 18 police services in 7 provinces. The crimes include murder, drug and firearm offenses, and intimate partner violence.
Investigators are not looking for evidence. They're not looking for witnesses. They just need to know where these fugitives are located.
Today, we show you the money.
The BOLO program is offering $1 million in reward money for leading to the arrest of the 25 suspects, including Deshaun Davis, who was wanted for kidnapping Alnaz Haj-Tamiri in Wasaga Beach more than 2 years ago. She hasn't been heard from or seen since.
I believe there are people who know where Deshaun Davis is, and I would urge those people to recognize the rewards that are available.
And Dharam Dhaliwal, wanted by Peel Police for the murder of a 21-year-old woman he was in a relationship with in December 2022.
We're alleging that he faked his own suicide in order to escape culpability. We want justice not only for our victim here, but also her family.
The BOLO program leveraging social media and technology to generate tips that investigators hope will lead to an arrest in each of these cases. Since the BOLO program started 6 years ago, officials say that 21 of 58 suspects, excluding the ones on this new list, have been arrested. Reporting live on Mike Walker, Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. The Leafs pull out a win in Boston and head back to Toronto with the series tied. Sean Leathon will have more on the preparations for Game 3 from both the team and its fans later on CTV News at 6.
But first, there's a live look outside. It is cloudy and windy. There's also a chance of showers tonight. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jessica.
We've got spotty shower activity in and around the GTA, so a good thing the folks aren't out at Maple Leaf Square tonight. Tomorrow night, a much different story, but I'll have those details in a moment. For now, we're just looking at the scattered shower activity continuing off and on as we approach midnight. It's also really windy outside. A southwesterly wind, so at least it's warm, sustained just under 40 kilometers an hour, but you add in the gusts and it's close to 60. It has been a really breezy kind of second half to our day. Temperatures right around the Golden Horseshoe in the double digits. We're not far off the seasonal mark, and heading into the evening, we stay relatively mild. But getting into the day tomorrow, that temperature doesn't change all that much, so we see a bit of a switch in the wind direction, making things feel pretty cool. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast, including the forecast for the people that are being outside tomorrow night and for the rest of the week. But right now, back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Still to come tonight, marking the 6th anniversary of one of the most somber days in Toronto's history, remembering the victims of the Yonge Street van attack.
The keffiyeh is still banned at Queen's Park, despite an effort to overturn the Speaker's decision today.
There was also a protest in the House aimed at drawing attention to the ban. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with the latest. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, there was a lot of noise, a lot of frustration about this ban, but ultimately no change. Now the NDP is researching what other options are available.
Speaker. For the second time this week.
Agreed. Heard some no's.
An attempt by the NDP to allow keffiyehs at the legislature shot down by progressive conservative MPPs. The scarf, important to Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab communities, has been banned by the Speaker. The opposition leader says she gave the Premier some space.
Talk to his caucus, convince his team to do the right thing, and they chose not to.
Among those who want to keep keffiyehs away from Queen's Park,
it's been appropriated by the left, I think, certainly in the federal legislature and here. the most diverse caucus in the history of this province.
This House stands in recess.
Question period interrupted by a handful of pro-Palestinian demonstrators, some holding keffiyehs.
This is a garment that was in support of farmers to protect themselves from sunlight in Palestine.
Independent MPP Sarah Jama defied the rules and wore her keffiyeh.
This piece of clothing has been made political, and that is not the fault of the people whose family continue to be killed, who have now all of a sudden arbitrarily are being barred from entering the building with it on.
Al-Khalil or Hebron pattern.
Like leaders who came to Queen's Park Tuesday to discuss anti-Palestinian racism.
They're literally stripping me of my dignity, and this is why I decided that we wouldn't take off the keffiyehs to go inside.
Politicization of the keffiyeh is entirely with the Speaker and members of government at this point.
This is the one I was wearing.
Bisan Zubi was turned away from watching debate at Queen's Park Monday, her mother's keffiyeh around her shoulders.
Are you telling me I shouldn't be proud? Are you telling me I can't participate in our political arenas?
Opposition parties say the legislature is a space everyone needs to feel welcome in.
For us not to be able to be unified on something as simple as this, it just makes it worse for everybody.
You might be wondering why the speaker didn't ask Sarah Jama to remove her keffiyeh. He's explained that from the angle he was sitting at, he couldn't see what the pattern on her scarf was. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Today marks a somber anniversary in the city's history. It was 6 years ago that a man drove a van down Yonge Street, killing 10 people and injuring 16 more.
This afternoon, people gathered at Mel Lastman Square to remember, including some who survived the attack. CTV's Janice Golding has more.
To the melancholy strains of a violin, mourners laid flowers in memory of the victims of the Toronto van attack.
Hopefully what people will remember is not so much the tragedy, but the people that were here that day and who lost their lives.
Maureen Williams lost a friend, 94-year-old Betty Forsyth.
I hit by him, by his mirror. I hit by his mirror because I jumped.
While Dina Risson narrowly escaped being killed herself. Risson saw the van coming and was just glanced by the vehicle. Another woman nearby was not so lucky.
One lady was lying on the floor, on the ground. The bus stop, it was scattered, you know, all the glasses and everything. And one man and me, we tried to just get her out.
It was April 23, 2018. 10 people would lose their lives along the stretch of Yonge Street between Finch and Shepherd. Another 15 would be wounded, one critically, losing their life 3 years later.
Dorothy Sewell, 80. She was retired.
Today, on the grim anniversary of the deadliest attack in Toronto's history, friends, area residents, and local and federal politicians gathered to reflect and remember.
My family's in Montreal, and I got a call, "Are you okay?" And, you know, you don't forget those moments.
6 years have passed, but the memories are still vivid for Dina Risson.
It was like, you know, like in the movie, like in the horror movie. And I could not believe what's happening. I could not believe. But, okay, thanks to God.
And while she remembers those who lost their lives, Risson says she's grateful her life was spared. Janice Golding, CTV News.
2 adults are recovering in hospital following a crash in Whitby this morning. The 2-vehicle collision happened before 7:30 near Thixton and Winchester. Reports suggested somebody was trapped when first responders arrived. Thixton was shut down for several hours, but later reopened.
Peel police have now charged a man after a double fatal crash earlier this month. It happened April 4th, just before 10 p.m. on Dixie Road in Mississauga. Police say 2 Audis were traveling at a high rate of speed when they both struck an SUV turning in an intersection. The driver and passenger of one of the Audis were not wearing seatbelts and were killed in the crash. 25-year-old Noel Vada of Mississauga is now charged with 2 counts, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death, as well as racing and speeding.
And firefighters responded to a 2-alarm blaze near Casa Loma early this morning. When crews arrived, they found smoke and flames coming from the roof of a townhouse complex on Spadina, just south of Davenport. Firefighters were able to quickly get the fire under control. How and where the fire started isn't known yet.
The series is now tied at 1 win apiece. The Leafs coming home with a win last night in Boston.
The team now setting its sights on Game 3, and so too are the fans. CTV's Sean Leithong is live tonight with more. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, the fans certainly got what they wanted last night here at Maple Leaf Square. The Leafs winning against Boston for the first time in 6 games this season. But it wasn't just the win, but even one particular moment in last night's game that really is giving fans something to look forward to tomorrow night.
Flipping it ahead, he's got Matthews in. Matthews scores!
This goal from Austin Matthews late in Game 2 would help secure a Leafs win, tying their series with the Bruins. But today, that goal has become the talk of Leafs fans.
Absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. That Matthews goal, I was buzzing.
Matthews goal, for sure. That was the highlight for me.
It was the first time the Leafs have led the Bruins in 6 games this season, and now fans say they feel a lot different than just one day ago.
Kind of a complete flip in the script from the prior game, and Matthews just like took the game over by himself.
Not as nervous or anxious, more excited for the next game, especially because we're coming home.
In anticipation of Games 3 and 4 in Toronto, Leafs superfan Curtis Stevenson says last night's win has done a lot for fans' confidence.
We needed that. Leafs fans needed that. We couldn't go back to Toronto down 2-0 against the Bruins. It would have, people would have been sitting on their hands, nervous, if we gave up that first goal. So we're going to be just fine.
In a game that saw Boston score with just 7 seconds left in the first period for a 2-1 lead, today Leafs players were owing their comeback to,
I think, just patience. I thought we stuck with it. Well, obviously they got a goal at the end of the first, and I thought we responded well. So I think moving forward, more of that.
Obviously that's not a kind of goal we want to let up in that time of the game, but I think our response after that was good.
Tavares shooting, scores!
With a goal to tie the game coming from captain John Tavares in the second, leading to Matthews' game winner in the third. Today, coach Sheldon Keefe said now the team must prepare for an even more difficult task.
We recognize the challenge that's ahead here. This is an elite team here. We're happy to get the split on the road, but we got to get back home and be prepared for their pushback.
For fans, there is the luxury of renewed confidence.
I'm pretty confident that we're going to win the series, even if we don't win 4 continuous game. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get the series, even if it's like a dogfight 4-3.
With 24 hours before they will be tested again.
So one of the big questions going into Game 3 is the status of William Nylander. He missed the first 2 games of the series with a suspected injury. Coach Sheldon Keefe was asked about that today, and he said no update. Hopefully we'll find out tomorrow. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Hopefully. Thank you, Sean. The RCMP has charged 2 former employees of a UN organization in Montreal. It is alleged they participated in a conspiracy to sell Chinese-made drones and other military equipment to Libya. Investigators believe the scheme also involved the illegal sale of Libyan oil to China. The alleged offenses occurred between 2018 and 2021 when the men were working at the International Civil Aviation Organization.
In the Middle East, Israel has ordered the evacuation of 4 zones on Gaza's northern edge. Residents are being told to shelter in 2 designated areas because they're in a dangerous combat zone. Israeli attacks intensified across the territory today in what residents said was some of the heaviest shelling in weeks. Airstrikes from shelling from the tanks were reported in central and southern areas of the enclave. People said it was almost non-stop bombardments. Incoming rocket alerts were also sounded in 2 southern Israeli border towns, but no casualties were reported.
In the U.S., Columbia University's main campus will switch to hybrid learning for the rest of the semester amid demonstrations over the war. Tents have been erected by protesters on the lawn of the campus in New York City. Some students have said they are afraid to go to school right now, with tensions running high. Elsewhere, pro-Palestinian protesters have set up tents and hung banners at the University of Michigan. It is one of several demonstrations underway at colleges and universities where staff are struggling to balance safety with free speech rights.
In Saskatoon, the Prime Minister met with members of the Jewish community celebrating Passover. Trudeau acknowledged the mood is different this year because of what's happening in the Middle East.
This year, the empty seat at the table for the hostages, the reflection on safety and freedom, the feeling of unsafeness that far too many Jewish families around the world, certainly in Israel right now, but even in Canada.
Trudeau says feeling safe for Jewish people in Canada and around the world is different right now because of the rise of anti-Semitism.
The southern and central regions of Ukraine came under attack today. The Ukrainian Air Force says Russia launched 16 drones and missiles. All but one of the drones were intercepted. In Odessa, an overnight attack injured 9 people and damaged apartment buildings, homes, stores, and vehicles. Also today, the UK pledged $620 million in new military supplies for Ukraine. This includes vehicles, boats, munitions, and ammunition.
Meanwhile, the UK's Prime Minister says he'll put the British defence industry on a war footing. Rishi Sunak says it's necessary in a world where Russia, Iran, China and North Korea potentially pose a threat.
So the new assertiveness of these authoritarian states far from our shores must concern us, because they are increasingly acting together against the fundamental values that we all hold dear of democracy, freedom and the rule of law.
Sunak spoke alongside the NATO Secretary General in Poland today. He announced the UK will increase defense spending to 2.5% of GDP by the end of the decade.
The U.S. Justice Department has finalized a $138.7 million settlement to compensate women who said they were sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar. The former team doctor for USA Gymnastics is serving decades in prison for assaulting hundreds of female athletes. The agreement announced today will settle 139 claims. An investigation found that FBI agents in Indianapolis and Los Angeles had knowledge of allegations against Nassar, but apparently took no action for more than a year. The Justice Department acknowledged it failed to step in. When combined with other settlements, $1 billion now has been set aside by various organizations for compensation.
The first witness in Donald Trump's hush money trial took the stand in New York today.
A former publisher of the National Enquirer testified he pledged to be Trump's eyes and ears during the 2016 presidential campaign. CTV's Joy Malvin reports.
Donald Trump sat stone-faced in a New York courtroom while his lawyer tried to defend his client's regular outbursts that the prosecution says violates his gag order. Trump has attacked Michael Cohen, a key witness and Trump's former lawyer, calling him a sleazebag and a liar. Just last night on a conservative radio show, Trump slammed the jury who will decide his fate.
That jury was picked so fast, 95% Democrats. The area is mostly all Democrats.
Back on the stand was David Pecker, former publisher of the National Enquirer. A longtime friend of Trump's, Pecker said he, Trump, and Cohen hatched a scheme at Trump Tower in 2015 after Trump announced his presidential run. Pecker said Trump used the tabloid to catch and kill negative stories about him and run hit jobs on his rivals like Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz. I told him we're going to try to help the campaign, Pecker said, and to do that, I want to keep this as quiet as possible. Pecker said he was the eyes and ears of the Trump campaign, taking stories off the market that would hurt Trump, like when Playboy model Karen McDougal was shopping a story about an alleged affair with Trump. But it was when porn star Stormy Daniels threatened to go public about their alleged affair just weeks before the 2016 election. The prosecution says Trump's fixer Michael Cohen wired Daniels $130,000 and then hid the payment.
I did it at the direction of and for the benefit of Donald J. Trump.
Donald Trump denies the affairs and has pleaded not guilty to 34 criminal charges of falsifying business records to cover up hush money payments and to influence the election. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
Skies over southern Greece turned an orange hue today. It was a result of dust clouds that had blown across the Mediterranean Sea from North Africa. Strong winds carried the dust from the Sahara Desert, engulfing the Acropolis and other Athens landmarks. The skies are predicted to clear tomorrow as winds shift and move the dust. The strong winds over the past few days have also fanned unseasonal early wildfires in the country's south.
In Colorado, a mountain lion is safe after getting trapped in a dam. The young cat was spotted just as a worker was about to release water down the spillway. Parks and wildlife officers were called in and dangled a rope for the lion to hold on to so it could be pulled out. It was a slow, delicate process, but the cat seemed to know what to do, grabbing onto that rope and eventually being lowered to safety. The mountain lion's sibling was also rescued, with both running off towards the woods.
And we have a new royal photo to show you tonight. Kensington Palace released this picture of Prince Louis on his 6th birthday. It was taken in the last few days by his mother in Windsor, where the family lives. The Prince and Princess of Wales also thanked the public for their kind messages for their youngest child. Louis' sister Charlotte will celebrate her 9th birthday next month.
Boycott or not, we look at a plan to protest the price of food at Loblaws during the entire month of May. Will it make any difference? That's coming up.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, there are constantly new scams to be aware of, and now there's another one. When you Google a company online, you could be directed to a fake website. A man looking for technical help was just scammed out of $25,000. I'll have my reports just ahead.
And after a mild day today, it gets cold tomorrow night, and we're looking at the risk of frost. The final frost dates for us here in the city, it's Tuesday next week, but we are still holding on to some cooler weather up until then. Things you can do to protect your temperature-sensitive plants: cover them up and water them well. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
We have to always be on guard against scams, and now that's the case even if you're Googling a business online.
Criminals are now creating look-alike fake websites that take you away from legitimate companies to try and steal your money. Here's Pat Foran and tonight's Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. A senior bought a printer from Best Buy and needed help setting it up. He called what he thought was the company's Geek Squad, which offers technical support. But the phone number went straight to criminals who scammed him out of $25,000.
This is Best Buy and Geek Squad, and I did the phone call.
Charles Gibbs of Georgetown recently bought a printer at Best Buy and had trouble setting it up, so he decided to call Geek Squad. He Googled them and called the first number that popped up online. He was surprised when they said there was a refund waiting in his account.
He said to me, "Oh, you get $349.94 refund." I thought to myself, well, that's kind of odd, but I call Geek Squad.
Gibbs was told they needed his banking information to process the refund. Then they said they made a mistake and accidentally gave him $10,000 he needed to give back.
He said, "You're going to have to go to the bank and pay this money back. You're going to have to do it today or we're going to be charging you with fraud."
Through a series of transactions that also caused him to use Bitcoin machines, Gibbs was scammed out of a total of $25,000.
As I keep saying to you, I call Best Buy, Geek Squad's good companies, and I called them. They didn't call me.
In a letter to Gibbs, Best Buy said, "We are constantly working with law enforcement to counter these attempts at fraud. Those who perpetrate these frauds are from outside of our organization."
It's fairly sophisticated these days. They take you to a fake website, you call the number, they convince you that they're that organization.
Technology experts say don't just Google, always go to official websites. Beware offers of rewards or refunds. Don't hand out your personal information, banking or credit card numbers, and use antivirus software.
My recommendation is to always be suspicious, right? Because the scammers are out there and they're designed to trick you.
Gibbs says he's 83 years old and that once he was caught up in the scam, it was hard to think clearly. He wanted to warn others what happened to him.
You got to be careful going on a website because it could be a scam number.
And Geek Squad is also warning customers to watch out for fraudulent texts and emails. You could be asked to renew subscriptions, reset passwords, or cancel charges. It's criminals trying to get your information. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Weather-wise, overall, wasn't a bad day, but we are anticipating rain and wind gusts. So, yeah, a little bit of that April flavor.
Yeah, it is around seasonal, but it is a little bit cloudy out there. I'm hoping things maybe get better, but the cool down's on the way, right?
It is, but the sun will come out tomorrow, like the song, but it is going to get a little cooler. So if you're heading out to, say, Maple Leaf Square tomorrow night, a layer or two, probably a good idea. But I feel like for the Leafs fans, they don't feel the cold. They don't feel the rain. But the good news for them, it's just going to be chilly outside. The active weather will be done by then. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Today it hasn't been terrible, right? We saw a little sunshine this morning, but it has been windy throughout the day. We're still dealing with that cloud cover. We've seen spotty showers in and around the GTA. The system kind of moving its way through as we head through the rest of our evening. As it pushes past us, with a cold front comes some cooler air. So we dip below seasonal heading into the end of the day tomorrow. For now, though, it's not bad. We're sitting at 14 here in the city. Ottawa sitting at 15, through Windsor sitting at 10, but anywhere north of Timmins, it is a little fresher, and there is some cooler air that's already impacted them that will impact us. For tonight, though, it's not bad. We'll be sitting at 7. We should be at 5. The spotty shower activity continues as we head through the evening and into the start of the day tomorrow. The further east you are, it falls more as a bit of a wet snow into the start of our Wednesday. Daytime high tomorrow, again, we'll just be at about 8 or 9 degrees. We should be at 14, and we're going to hold on to that cooler air as we head into the evening as well. The line of showers will continue to push its way through as we head throughout our evening. Behind it, high pressure, much more stable air mass, beautiful sunshine, but it gets a little chilly. As we head throughout the rest of our evening, again, the showers will kind of come in a few different waves as we head through the overnight. And then starting the day tomorrow, likely just light drizzle for that morning commute for many. But then as we get past the lunch hour, early afternoon, beautiful sunshine, but a northwesterly wind adding just a little bit of freshness to the air. So for the folks at 7 o'clock heading around down to Maple Leaf Square, it'll be a little cool. It'll feel a little closer to 4 degrees. So a layer or two, probably a good idea. As we head in towards our Thursday, things start to warm up. And then by Friday, we're back to a really beautiful, very seasonal forecast. So the seasonal yo-yo that is spring and that is the month of April is very steady as we head in towards the end of the week. Again, the spotty showers into tomorrow morning will start to taper off. We have a beautiful, albeit cool afternoon and evening ahead of us. Not bad as we head in towards Thursday, but that chance of frost Wednesday night, Thursday night is definitely there. So cover your temperature-sensitive plants. And then into Friday, it's not so bad. 14 for the high, 8 for the low. We do have a bit of a soggy weekend ahead of us with spotty showers Saturday and Sunday. But by the time we get to Sunday, potentially 19, maybe even 20 degrees. And then after that, we settle into a really warm and slightly above seasonal trend. I'll send things back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Also tonight, a planned boycott for the entire month of May against Loblaws to protest high food prices and shrinkflation. Who's behind it, and is the anger misplaced? We talk to the experts.
A recent survey matching medical students with their chosen specialty found 108 unfilled spots for family practice out of a total 558 available.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more on the alarm bells sounding in Ontario.
During an orientation with new medical students at the University of Toronto, Dr. Azadeh Movani asked them to write anonymously about their considerations for entering family medicine.
I'm undecided, but would consider family medicine if there was less administrative work, that there was better compensation for all the work we do, and more recognition and respect.
First-year med student Tasha Miller says she's considering family practice, calling it a beautiful specialty and the first line of healthcare.
It's very much based on a fee-for-service model, and things haven't been totally accounted for with increasing prices of things such as buildings or admin or just materials that family doctors need to support their practice.
They've done surveys to look at how much paperwork people do, family physicians do. It's about 19 hours a week on average.
Forms that are different for every insurance company, every employer, every university, for head injuries and hockey associations.
A briefing by the Ontario Medical Association highlighted the financial concerns of family doctors.
In the past 10 years, inflation has grown by 25.4%, while average billings have grown by only 6.1%.
Honestly, I think family physicians need to be paid more. I really do, because their overhead costs are really high.
The OMA points out some steps being taken to ease the shortage of family doctors. An initiative dubbed payments before paperwork is trying to streamline the administrative workload. And Toronto Metropolitan University is opening a new medical school in Brampton, with students set to enter in September of 2025. But the OMA says more must be done to sustain the numbers already practicing.
A staggering 2.3 million people are already without a family doctor, and that number is expected to nearly double in just 2 years.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
An online group is calling for a boycott of Canada's biggest grocery chain.
But some shoppers say while the move is well-intentioned, it would see them spending more on groceries. CTV's Beth McDonnell explains.
Boycott Loblaws starting May 1st, read the flyers. A push from the online group Loblaws is out of control on Reddit. One of the nearly 54,000 users saying, spread the word, people have the power and always will. I'm not waiting until May. I have been boycotting for months, wrote another.
You have to hit them where their money is, and Loblaws will not change unless they see a direct change in their economic flow. And I think boycotts are really good for businesses to reevaluate their positioning.
Jeffrey Burkarish got turned off Loblaws because of their prices about a decade ago and stopped shopping there. But the impact of a boycott is not straightforward, with one online comment calling the boycott absolutely ridiculous. Loblaws is literally the cheapest grocery store in my area. Stores like Sobeys and Metro are far more expensive.
Quite frustrating for a lot of people. So they're looking for a scapegoat. They're looking for a target.
Sylvain Charlebois studies food prices. He says most of the anger about food costs is being directed at Loblaws and Galen Weston because it's number one and it's who Canadians know. He questions who the people behind the Reddit group are and believes the boycott won't be successful.
Loblaw may be gouging consumers selling Chanel No. 5 or lipsticks or T-shirts, but not with food.
The Reddit group also appears to have a problem with Charlebois. His face is featured on its page banner. It's a dislike Charlebois says comes from a $60,000 grant Dalhousie University took from the Weston Foundation in 2017. Charlebois says based on audited, verified financial reports, Loblaw gross margins have remained the same for several years, with the big profits stemming from inflation, which has been going down. In a statement, Loblaw's parent company says, as a business, we are acutely aware of the fact that we have to win our customers' business each and every day. The last few years have been tough for Canadians, and we continue to do what we can to combat inflation at our stores. We're going to keep working hard to deliver on our commitment to value. Burkarish, meanwhile, likes to shop local. The owner here says over the past 2 years, more customers tell her they're giving up groceries at big box stores.
When they do a price comparison, we're cheaper in almost all of our products than the big box stores, which always surprises people. And once they realize that, they like coming here.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
After the break, keen on style but concerned about fashion's impact on the planet. We catch up with Canada's most stylish thrifter for tips on reusing clothing in elevated new ways.
It's a very sad, tragic accident. I just wish it didn't happen.
Updating our top stories, Umar Zameer is speaking out after a jury found him not guilty in the death of Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrop. Zamir calls the incident a nightmare that won't go away and tells CTV News he hopes the officer's family will one day be able to forgive him.
Today, your world gets smaller. We won't give up. We will find you.
The list of Canada's most wanted now features a man wanted for a Toronto homicide in the top spot. There's now a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Michael Beebe. Police are hoping the public will help them find suspects wanted by 18 different police services.
Hopefully what people will remember is not so much the tragedy, but the people that were here that day and who lost their lives.
Marking the 6th anniversary of the Yonge Street van attack, a small gathering in North York paid tribute to the 10 people killed and 16 injured on this day back in 2018.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
Tesla shareholders got a bumpy ride today as the company released weak financial results. BNN Bloomberg's Amber Kanwar has the latest in business.
Electric car maker Tesla posted its first drop in sales since the pandemic this afternoon. Sales dropped nearly 9%, which is the worst slump since 2012. The EV maker has been responding to weak demand by slashing prices. This has hit the company's bottom line as well. Profit fell 55% from last year. The company warned a week ago that it would be cutting 10% of its workforce ahead of today's announcement. Now, despite the disappointing metrics, shares initially surged as the company signaled it remains committed to building a low-cost car, something investors were worried it was abandoning. Snack food and beverage giant PepsiCo reported results that were hit by a recall of its Quaker Oats products. Pepsi voluntarily recalled Quaker Oats Chewy Bars and Simply Granola cereals in December because of concerns of salmonella. That unit posted a loss this quarter. Now, while sales were strong outside of the U.S., volumes on both food and the drink division fell in its home market. The company says it noticed that U.S. consumers are moving away from their brand names like Lay's, Doritos, and Tropicana in favor of discount versions. Canada's Competition Bureau says it has concerns over a proposed takeover of grain handling company Viterra. Last summer, U.S.-based agriculture firm Bunge offered more than $8 billion to buy Viterra, which has major operations in Canada. In a report today, the Bureau said allowing the deal to go ahead would substantially reduce competition in the grain business in Western Canada and the canola business in Eastern Canada. The government has until June to decide whether or not to let the deal go ahead. Now let's check in on the closing market numbers. The Canadian dollar advanced very modestly to around 73 cents U.S., while U.S. oil prices also regained some of its losses, around $83 per barrel. Canadian energy prices, meanwhile, were down a little bit below $69 per barrel, but it was an up day on the TSX, adding nearly 140 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Kanwar in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Earth Day is still top of mind, and people continue to think about ways to protect the environment.
When it comes to shopping for clothes, people have discovered thrifting. And as CTV's Andrea Case reports, one woman has made a career out of it.
Fashion magazine crowned Maydeen Morris-Dixon Canada's most stylish thrifter.
So my outfit, almost everything is thrifted or secondhand.
The former marketing executive was introduced to bargain hunting in 2013. She now has a long list of stores she regularly visits, like Value Village.
Now I do wardrobe styling for TV, and I've been doing some short films, and I've done one music video. So I do that. I do personal styling as well. I do interior decorating.
And she understands resale, secondhand, or consignment shopping isn't for everyone.
I think it's cultural because some people can't wrap their heads around wearing other people's garments.
She says anything can be cleaned, and for those who want to experiment or are on a budget.
For a lot of young people, finding their style is important. It helps motivate them, it helps inspire them, and I think this is a perfect place to do that.
Some items may not look like a bargain, like this white T-shirt for $64.99, but Morris-Dixon has an app for that. She uses Google Lens.
Women's Versace, $600, my friend.
So when it's $64.99,
you better scoop it up.
Maydeen has a tip for you at home. If you're coming to a store like Value Village, make sure you wear form-fitting clothes because they often don't have a dressing room. If you want to try it on, you're going to have to try it on in the store. Some stores have memberships or seniors days which offer further discounts. And if you don't like a price, ask a manager for a discount. Another added value, come for the bargain, stay for the friendship. Morris-Dixon met Cynthia Salem years ago in this very store.
I have a lot of fun, and it's the search until you find that one thing that you must have, whether you need it or not.
With thrifting, it's hit and miss. So you come often, you get addicted. I'm definitely addicted for sure. But yeah, I think you can do a lot for the environment, and you do a lot for your own personal style. I think if you find a garment that means something to you and you feel good in, there's nothing better than that. It helps your self-esteem.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
Just ahead, add this to the list of air travel issues that can arise. The story behind this alligator on the tarmac in Florida. That's in moments. There was an unexpected intruder at an Air Force base in Tampa, Florida. A large alligator made its way onto the runway at MacDill Air Force Base yesterday. Officials spotted it near the landing gear of a refueling aircraft and had to try to figure out a way to get it out of there. The military called in the Fish and Wildlife Commission to assist with the removal. Wildlife officials say alligators are more likely to wander into unfamiliar territory in April as they search for mates. The gator has now been put in a more suitable environment, a nearby river far away.
Yeah, you're not going to find a mate there.
No, he's just trying to catch a flight, not feelings. I feel like it's just the time of year where it's so changeable. The weather's a little confusing, so maybe he just got a little bit mixed up. But for us, it's a little funky tonight, but it gets better as we head into the day tomorrow. We will cool down. It'll be a northwesterly wind, but at least the sunshine comes out. As we head through the rest of our evening, still scattered showers rolling in and out as we head through about now till midnight. And then starting off the day tomorrow, a few light showers to start the day, and then the sun will come out. For now, it's just gray. We're sitting at about 14 degrees here in the city, really mild across the board, but that changes as we see a northwesterly kind of switch to the winds into the day tomorrow. So it is a little cool as we mark the middle of the week, but by Thursday, by Friday, back to where we should be. And although there's rain this weekend, it stays mild. I'll send things back to you guys.
Good to see you. Thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.